the legend, the developer, the designer, and the builder, none other than Mr. Michal here.
So we've been in the business now for 38 years. Our specialty is really multi-site construction project management. We've built up to 24,000. We built a 24,000 square foot house.
The client comes back to you and say that what your drawings are, I do not agree to this.
It's no different than if you were filming a movie. There are many, many takes. There have been some times where it's like 22, 24.
The reputation which you have built over 38 years.
It's our honor to build something that lasts for generations.
Hello everyone, this is Hussain Hamid with Financial Freedom, and today we have none other than the legend, the developer, the designer, and the builder, none other than Mr. Michal here from Ambassador Fine Custom Homes. Welcome on board, sir. How is everything with you?
Thank you very much for having me here, Hussain. It's a pleasure. We look forward to speaking with your audience, and your reputation precedes you, so it's a great pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure is all mine, sir. I was thinking that, when Michal is going to come, I think he's going to nail it.
You're too kind.
First of all, we'd like to know more about Ambassador Fine Custom Homes. You are a CEO and president. What would you say about this company? Where you guys started with? What you guys provide?
So we've been in the business now for 38 years, and we build literally across the GTA. We've done some business in Vancouver. We've done some business in Arizona as well.
Nice.
And our specialty is really multi-site construction project management. And we've been very fortunate because our clients refer us to their friends and family. And really, it's a word of mouth business. And most of this is really derived from trust, right?
Yes.
Because people are spending possibly the most amount of money on a particular investment is their home.
Yes.
And, leaving aside stock market and other real estate investments, but they're principal residents. And the more successful the people are, they want to have that opportunity to basically enjoy life a little bit more, and they have particular wishes and different styles. And our job is to really get to know the client and their lifestyle, their ambitions, their their preferences are. And then we go ahead and design the home for them and, of course, build it.
So what you are saying is that, the referral is everything for you. And, the people who cares about the referral program, word of mouth, I would say that these are the people who really build the trust within the community as well. So that's great.
100%. I think we only have one reputation, and people entrust us with their money. And, of course, their final proud principal residence that they live in. And so it's a great honor and pleasure for us that we're entrusted with this, and we have not just a fiduciary responsibility, but it's our honor to sort of build something that lasts for generations.
Nice.
So the homes that we build, if the family wants to pass it on from generation to generation, that's the kind of quality that we try to make sure they enjoy.
Remember you forever.
This
is what your motto is. This is what your goal is.
Yeah, all our business is through the word of mouth referral. We do some advertising because it's the right thing to do, but all the business has come from past clients.
So what is your norm? How many square feet you guys have built for people?
Sure.
And,
sure.
you can build for people.
I don't know if there is a norm, because it's like everything else. Somebody's in the mood to buy a red shirt, or another day a blue shirt. So every family has their own preferences and needs. And I would say that typically it could be maybe between 5,000 to 8,000 square feet. And when I say typically, it's not typically what we do. It would be kind of the average norm of what the typical client would be wanting to buy. There's many reasons for that. Number one, it's the price range. And it's the price range of the land. Because if you're going to build something that's 15,000, 20,000 square feet, you need a larger piece of land, and that's going to cost more. Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with the initial cost of the land. And then, of course, the cost of the build is more affordable at the 5,000 to 8,000 square foot range. But last but not least, most families don't need 20,000 square feet. That being said, we've built up to 24,000. We built a 24,000 square foot house in Mississauga, off Mississauga Road, many around the 18,000 square foot mark. The two in Markham are around 11,500 and 13,500 square feet. But again, it's not what we do, it's what the client wants.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you work with the client, whatever their needs are.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know what? We've designed 65% of the homes that we've built. We're always very excited and enthusiastic to work with third-party architects.
Right.
Got some wonderful relationships. We've made good friends with some of the architects, and we're very fortunate to have that.
So when you are talking about the friends, that this is where I am sitting with you. You really have the reputation which you have built over 38 years.
Thank you.
And salute you for that. Being a CEO president, I know that it is not a easy job to maintain that reputation, especially the custom built houses, right? The people have their own requirements, right?
Of course.
And they can be like, okay, I want to have the swimming pool, indoor swimming pool, outdoor swimming pool, right?
Absolutely.
They want to have a gym, especially when you're talking about 24,000 square feet.
Yes,
They want each and everything in their house.
Absolutely. And to that point, the 13,500 square foot house that we're building in Markham, it has an underground garage for 6 cars.
See, here you go.
Yeah, so it's literally like a condo garage and ramp going down, and then it's a heated underground garage, indoor swimming pool, and a greenhouse. So we're going to be bringing in a couple of palm trees and using a crane to lift them inside the greenhouse. And they want to have some small little birds. So when it's all said and done, it's going to be,
it's going to be
quite special.
So when we talk about all these different things in detail, it is really detail-oriented work. I get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that does not only take your, one-time attention, but you have to really write it down. Then you have to maybe go back and change it and all that. So how many times did it happen that the client comes back to you and say that, what your drawings are, I do not agree to this.
It's a fascinating study of human nature. Whether it's a third-party architect or us, the clients sign off on the final drawings. Absolutely. And it's no different than if you were filming a movie. There are many, many takes. So with the design of the homes, there's many versions of the design. And sometimes we can go back 6, 8, 10 times. And there's been some times where it's like 22, 24. It gets to the point where the client is so passionate about the design that we start to wonder, are we ever going to get to the build?
Yes.
Because, constantly making changes. But that being said, once they sign off on the design and the construction budget, you'd be surprised and maybe you wouldn't be. But whether it's a third-party architect or us, in the middle of the build, they will make changes. And some of it's very simple. Maybe I thought this closet was big enough. Can you make it bigger? Things like that. But then there are some very substantial ones. And I kid you not, the house that we built that's 24,000 square feet, its original design was 18,000.
Wow.
So visualize that the building permit is for 18,000 square feet, but we end up building 24,000. I mean, you can't even make that up. Then we have to reapply for building permits. And of course, it's more engineering and so on and so forth. But anything is possible.
Right.
And if you have the right team.
Yes.
And of course, we're here for the client.
Absolutely.
So whatever the customer wants, we're only too pleased to do. As long as there's an understanding, it might extend the build time, because obviously you can't build 24,000 square feet at the same time span as you would 18,000.
Yes.
Right?
So that takes me to another question, which is very, very important. And I think that our viewers love to know that. So let's say that if somebody comes up and they say that, okay, Mike, I know that you have been building 18,000 square feet houses, 24,000. What if I have to build for 6,000 square feet house?
Absolutely.
And if they say that, you are starting from the scratch, means, they have the piece of a land.
Yes.
They come to you and there are no services, nothing like that, no approvals. What would you say that, how much time it is going to take to build that kind of a house, about 6,000 to 7,000 square feet? Do you have any number in your mind about the duration?
Great question. And it's the obvious one, and the most popular question is how much it's going to cost. But we'll cover that later. Our job is to manage the expectations of the client. And there's 4 aspects. We wear 4 main hats when we're designing and building a home.
Or is that right?
And so one, of course, is budget.
Budget, yeah.
One is your point in question, time.
Time, yeah.
The other is scope of work,
Yes.
meaning it's not just is it this size house or that size, but it's also how complex is the build. And when we get into some more complex materials, then of course it's going to extend the period of time that it takes to build, right? And then the last part is, of course, quality. And so those are the 4 hats that we're wearing. But back to your point, I think it's important to share with the viewing audience is that when we talk about these uber-sized homes, or somebody said mega mansions, someone called it Mac mansion, the reality is that not all homes are that size. And so I don't want to mislead the audience that that's what we always build, because the fact of the matter is that most of the clientele in the bracket of what they're earning, and whether they're successful business entrepreneurs or we have a lot of doctors, all sorts of doctors that are our clients. I think the reality is what you touched on. If it's, let's say it's that 6,000 to 7,000 square foot home.
Yes.
So again, depending on the complexity, I would say a year, 14 months. 12 to 14 months of actual construction. And it's impossible to give a specific time unless we have the drawings, right? Because then we can do proper analysis and our due diligence on that. But in a quick few words, 12 to 14 months to build it.
So does it vary that, if I want to build a house in Oakville as compared to I want to build a house in Markham?
Great question. Yeah.
The timeline.
Absolutely. So the actual build process, it would be the same in Oakville as in Markham. What is fascinating is the process of getting the building permit.
Yes.
And in Mississauga, we used to hold, I don't know if we still hold the record, and it doesn't matter, of getting the fastest building permit, which was 60 days.
Wow.
Like to the day. And that's public information. I don't know if it's true anymore, but maybe somebody got it faster. And it's not a competition. It's not about getting it fast.
This is fascinating.
It's an interesting, unimportant statistic.
Yeah.
That being said, in Markham, it would take a year to get a building permit. And this is not because it's us, Ambassador. Any other builder that you speak to, things have dramatically changed over the years in Markham. I don't want to get into that part because that's another segment altogether. But right now, that is either the or one of the cities that are, it takes the longest time. I don't want to say it's the most difficult to get a building permit there, but it's just, it is what it is. And I think there's a reality check. If somebody says to the client, I can get the building permit in 3-4 months. Yes, in some cities.
Yes.
But not in Markham for sure.
All right. It's good. So the Markham people, if they are watching,
that's not a bad thing. It's just, again, managing the expectations of the client that, if someone says to them, I could get you the building permit and have the house finished in, say, 16 months, that's not a realistic expectation in Markham. Yeah.
People who gives you the land, who gives you the papers, and then you are getting the design or the drawing or everything is getting it ready and all that, how they can keep track that, how much you guys have built or where you guys are, or do you have any system?
That's a really important point that you touched on. And I think that our industry, and I'm going to paint this in a very broad brush, sometimes has the unfortunate reputation of promising a client that they're going to get their home in April.
Okay.
And they don't get it till August, September, October. And when I say our industry, I'm just being vague that the home building industry, I don't want to focus on custom or track build subdivisions, right? But It's common. And we really try, and I go back to what I said earlier, to manage our clients' expectations, that when the design is, as we're doing the design, we're building the budget.
Right.
There's no point designing a home that the client can't afford to build. So if I'm going to talk about the timeline and the mechanisms in a moment, but that's really important. So if they share with us they have a budget of X, there's no point designing a house that's going to cost Y, because there's going to be a huge disconnect to begin with. The other part is, of course, the time. That often the client has a realistic time frame that they need to move in, and other times it doesn't matter to them because they're happy where they're living and they just want to improve, their principal residence. But we track everything on what's called a Gantt chart. Okay. For the viewing audience that don't know what that is, It is an elaborate, let's say, calendar with a bar graph. In other words, it will show all the work items that need to be done. In our case, let's say it's 164 line items to build a house. Of course, each line item, like plumbing, would break out like a spider web into 28 more line items. But to keep it simple, and they collate with a calendar on the top. And so these bar graphs, they're joined with lines. And long story short, it gives you the visual flow of the construction, right down to the fact of the window cleaning and where we're giving, we call it a key ceremony, where we're handing the key over to the client. And that literally is the last item on the Gantt chart. Okay, so all of this is on a live online program.
Nice.
So our clients, just like you would log in to do online banking.
Yes.
So they have access to their own project site.
Right.
And on there, they get to view the Gantt chart so they can see whether we're leading or lagging. Right. In other words, they're going to see right away, it's all in real time. It's updated every 3 days. So there are no surprises that, April will turn into August. No. The only thing that can delay a project for us is if there's some supply inventory issues. And we all understand, of course, how in COVID, there were some real challenges with supply chain issues. And of course, weather.
Yes.
Right. So those are the two main components that would delay the project. But they get to go on our online system and they can see the daily log, which has photos and videos and also what was documented, what could be done. There's a live construction camera where they can move the camera, it rotates, they can zoom in, they can see the real work happening. It's a 24/7 camera, so at night it has night vision, and of course it acts as one of the many security cameras that we have on site as well. So there's a wealth of information, and the final one, of course, is their budget. It's a live budget, so there are no surprises. They can see exactly where those 164 line items are and where the money is coming in to match that. So it's a very sophisticated system, and we always believe that information is power.
Information is power. Yeah.
The more information that we give them and the full disclosure, it gives them that confidence and that peace of mind that they actually do know what's happening on site.
Did you ever get a client that, who you really taught the process and everything, and after that you come to know that he's also a builder?
Interesting. So not quite the way that you're describing, but we've built homes for developers.
See, this is where I was coming
and it's an interesting aspect. And when they approached us, the initial thought process from our end is, come on, you build hundreds of homes in a year. We don't. We build 4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6 homes a year, because that is what you are known for.
They're custom homes,
build.
right? And it's a whole different level. When they build hundreds of homes, it's a subdivision home.
Yeah.
Wonderful, lovely, nice home. It's interesting. And I would ask, look, you have all the trades. You have all the knowledge. You don't need me. They want someone like us, doesn't have to be ambassador, but someone like us to build their custom home, because it's at this level of quality, it's not their wheelhouse. And their trades are great, but it's a different kind of build that we do. And they don't want to build their own home. It's very interesting that you would ask that question.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
But it's happened.
Another thing is that, which was coming in my mind when you were answering this that question, that is it easy for people out there that, if they have an older house, 60 years or 70 years, 80 years, and they wanted to demolish that and want to build have a custom build, right? Or is it easier that they buy a piece of land? And I think our viewers really like to know that.
Sure.
If they buy a piece of land, is this going to be more cost effective? Or if they already have a house and what are your thoughts on that?
It's a fair question. I would answer it that in most cases, and I don't have a percentage, but it's very high. People are buying land with a house because that's what it is, right? Very infrequently, it happens that we have a client that has just raw land. When it's just raw land, it's usually out in the suburbs, further away from the cities. Because think about it, they're not making land anymore. So it's further away. And then we're talking about septic systems, wells, and so on and so forth. So I think I would not say it's easier because there is a whole other level of responsibilities, as I just shared with you now, to make that home not livable, but to make it function as a home would in the city. To tear down a house in the city, and we don't have to think of downtown, but in any city where there's lots of homes next to it and so on and so forth, it's normal. That's what we do. We've had some really interesting situations where, let's say Forest Hill, without naming streets, where we have to do a lot of reinforcements. It's called shoring. And everybody, all your viewing audience has probably seen condominiums that were excavated and they have those big steel beams with the wood around, looks like big walls that's underground. And that's what we have to do because we have to be very careful.
What about the neighbors?
Exactly. And the homes, when they're 60, 80 years old, the construction methodology was very different. And so today, as we all know, we pour concrete foundation walls. But not too long ago, they were using cinder blocks or concrete blocks.
Right.
And before that, maybe like an older style clay brick, like 3 layers of it interlocked. Yeah. And even before that, stones. So there's one property that we did up in Flesherton, Ontario, which is just north of Orangeville. And the foundation is rock, put together with mortar. So rocks. And where am I going with this is that if we are building next door to a house that's like that, we have to be very careful not to disturb that foundation or the footings because the vibration from the demolition of the house and then the excavation could damage the house next door. Yes. So there is a very sophisticated process. It doesn't make it easier to do it, in a tight Toronto or Oakville, doesn't matter the city, street with a lot of houses by no stretch of the imagination. So each one has its own set of challenges.
That's a really, really good answer and full answer. People are
now
getting
you regret asking these questions.
but that was
too long of an answer.
No. But I think this answer has to come for the viewers especially. Sure.